Hope everyone's doing well tonight. We had some spring weather here in the last couple days and winter returns again. Welcome to the Cicero Regular Town Board Meeting, Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. And please note the two exits in the rear of the room and one to my right. And if you would, please silence your cell phones and stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing and remember those who are serving in harm's way. Thank you. Other than the agenda, public hearings, does anyone wish to come up and speak on behalf of any of the other agenda items prior to the meeting starting? If not, we'll move on to Counselor Hogan.
If you don't mind,
Fine.
really fast, I apologize, and I apologize to everyone if I look irritable this evening. I am not feeling well, so I apologize for that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. So
You got it.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I say one thing real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Mike, I hope you feel better. I would just like to take a moment to acknowledge the town of Cicero employees and Supervisor Argano for the hard work during the recent snowfall in February. Gretchen and I in the town clerk's office received countless phone calls and assisted both residents and employees. We understand how challenging this time was for everyone involved. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the Highway Department, Chris Wesnicka, and the entire team, including the wingers, for their incredible hard work and dedication. Your long hours and tireless efforts to ensure our roads remain clear and safe for our residents and our commitment does not go unnoticed. A sincere thank you to Police Chief Rotuno and the entire police department, along with all of our first responders, who continuously put the safety of our community first. Your professionalism and service during these challenging conditions are truly commendable. I also want to recognize the Parks and Recs Director, Teresa Roth, and her team for their efforts in the outstanding in maintaining all of the public spaces. We are truly a great team that is committed to this community. Thank you.
Move for the adoption of a resolution approving abstracts number 9 dated 3/5/2025, abstract number 10 dated 3/12/2025.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
No or abstain, passed. We're gonna continuation of the public hearing to abolish the office of the receiver of taxes. We gotta open this up at what time, Mike?
6:33.
6:33 p.m. Okay, you wanna,
At this time, I would move to withdraw the proposed local law.
okay, get a second?
Oh, second.
Okay, discussion?
I appreciate the analysis that our comptroller did on the potential cost savings involved in this. It appears the cost savings will be minimal to zero, with possible cost increase even, based on the possibility that an elected official might be taking on 2 elected roles, might be expecting it or might be deserving a salary increase. In addition, there's an inescapable loss of efficiency with 1 elected official running 2 departments that are immovable and on opposite sides of the building. The cost savings just aren't there at this time. And I do not believe, and I believe it's the sense of the rest of the board that I've spoken to, that I think there's a consensus that this is not the appropriate time to make this move.
I never like to see elected officials' positions disappearing for appointed positions, so I wasn't really for it to begin with.
Anyone else? I think that we can, with some, maybe some work within this building, accomplish what we're looking for with this transition of the receiver of taxes. And if we can get some all in the clerk's office if we can get the tax office in one side of the building, we can work more efficiently because the tax office isn't busy certain times of the year, which we can utilize those staff members as well. Okay, anyone else? No?
No.
Open it up. Anybody?
Well, no, I mean, we're pulling
Okay.
local law. There's no,
Okay.
Mr. Jermaine, right? If we move to withdraw the proposed local law, there's no need for, we need to vote or no?
Okay.
We didn't vote on the withdrawal, no.
Okay, we got a second.
We got a second. We didn't vote yet.
Okay. We'll close it at, 6 what?
36.
36. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed. Continuation of public hearing, local law. The Town of Cicero succession of authorization modernization law in relation to the qualifications and duties of persons exercising the authority of deputy supervisor. Open that one up at 6:36.
6.
At this time, I would move to withdraw the pending, the proposed local law.
Get a second?
Second.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, close it at 6:36.
6.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed. Okay, we're opening up on to the next one, public hearing to consider the Town of Cicero Comprehensive Plan Update Version, March of 2025 attached. And at this time, I wish to waive the reading. The legal notice is posted and advertised at the proper time.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll ask John Steinmetz, a representative from Colliers. And he is going to give us an overview of, and this is going to also include the comprehensive plan and the overlay all in one, correct?
I can,
You want to do,
is this working? Doesn't sound like, can you guys hear me in the back? Oh, perfect. All right, didn't sound like it up here. I can stop
okay,
and to more line up with your agenda. So
Okay.
that shouldn't be too awkward.
yeah, try another mic. Then we have to hunch over.
Yeah.
How about if I go closer? Mike, can you hear me? Sort of? Okay. If I forget and do this, just holler. All right, let me just. Okay, all right. Thank you, board. Thanks you, supervisor. I can take as little or as much time as you think is sufficient. I'm guessing my slides will go 20-ish minutes. I'll move relatively quickly to give everyone an overview of the comprehensive planning process. And then we can stop, have that public hearing, and then I give an overview of the waterfront overlay district. Does that sound acceptable? All right. Thank you, board. Let's jump in. So tonight I want to talk a little bit about the process, some of the public input that we received that led to the draft comprehensive plan document that exists today. Introduce the audience and the board. The board has already seen it, but to the community profile data, I'm not going to cover the data in detail. I'm just going to give you an example and some examples of the type of information we looked at that helped develop the plan recommendations. Then I'll touch in a little bit more detail on the plan recommendations. Again, not exhaustive. We'd be here far too long. Hit some of the high points, and then I'll turn it back over to the board to open the public hearing on the comprehensive plan. Just a reminder and a recognition that the plan was developed with the assistance of a steering committee, a very active, very engaged group of individuals, residents, property owners that really helped bring us home to where we are this evening. They spent a lot of time and effort, volunteers for no pay. So if you see any of these people in the room, and there are some here tonight, I'm not going to make them stand up, but I do think they're worth recognizing in this manner this evening. So for all of you that were here on the committee, thank you for your time and service. Once the committee was done with its work, it was then presented to the town board for their consideration and review, which is what this process is currently. Very quickly, in 3 slides or less, I just want to introduce you to what a comprehensive plan is and what its role in local government is. First and foremost, it's provided for by New York state law to promote the health, safety, and welfare of a community, in this case, the town of Cicero. And in order to do that effectively, it provides background information and policies to assist with decision-making. Again, this is a decision-making tool. It's meant to provide guidance on a wide variety of decisions and help establish framework for future programs, future investment, public investment, private investment, et cetera. Some of the benefits of the plan, and if a plan kind of does its job, it should highlight the priorities of a community during that time period. So when you're thinking in 2025, looking ahead 5 to 10 years down the road in the town of Cicero, what are the important items that get addressed by the elected officials, by the planning board, by the zoning board, by the staff, by the private sector? What are the priorities that you want to coalesce around as a community to accomplish? State law allows plans to be very flexible in their contents, but generally speaking, most of them have introduction, a community profile, and then the forward section of the document, vision and policies. Some communities are goals, some are strategies. It all depends on which planner you have working on your document. Then a future land use conversation in terms of guiding future investment in the community. And then finally, the next steps or action items to help make that plan a reality. I know you can't see the graphic on the right. That's from the comprehensive plan website. So I'll just hit the high points of how we got here today. Our first kickoff meeting with the committee was on February 27th, 2023. So just over 2 years ago by a couple of weeks. We had, I think, 7 or 8 committee meetings throughout our 2-year period together. We had our first community-wide public meeting on April 18th, 2023. We had our second community meeting on January 29th, 2024. We had our third community meeting in November 2024. Some of you may have been in attendance. I recognize some faces. And then finally, we have the public hearing tonight. And then depending on what happens tonight with the public hearing, this will not be adopted tonight. We have some other things to do in terms of procedural referrals to the county and things of that nature. So tonight is definitely a listening session for the board and an opportunity for you to present your thoughts. We started with some public input outreach exercises, some in-person exercises, and some online. So we had an online portal that allowed people to tell us their hopes, their dreams, their fears for the community. And these are some of the high points. Increased public access to the waterfront was one of the most common things we heard through the portal. A strong desire to improve walkability and the ability to bike safely between neighborhoods, from the neighborhoods into some of the commercial areas, to the schools, to the neighborhoods, and various destinations throughout the town. So that was very high on the list, as well as improving roadway safety and encouraging development away from Route 11. And then you can see the list. Hopefully you can see some of this, and I'll give this presentation to the town so they can post this if they so choose. And you can kind of see what else we heard on the ideas wall on the plan website. We also asked people to give us some of their preferences in terms of when new investment occurs in the town, when communities, when our new neighborhoods are built or new commercial establishments are built. What are some of the things people would like to see versus things they might not like to see? So we had some images. We had people give us preferences on single-family home arrangements, multifamily construction type practices. What do retail and commercial practices look like, and is there a way we can improve them in the town of Cicero going forward through encouragement as well as some regulation to get a stronger quality level of investment in our commercial areas in the town. Putting it all together, these are some of the images we showed. This is an existing image in another community, not Cicero. And just, through the magic of computers, showing how that street could transform over time. People seem to appeal to people in Cicero, not everywhere, not in your residential neighborhoods, obviously, but in some of the commercial areas, maybe we can make a similar transformation happen in certain areas of the town, not everywhere in the town. So I mentioned the community profile earlier. This is, our planning geeks like myself and Katie. These are where we get into the census data. What are the trends affecting the community? What are the trends affecting the region? So we looked at things such as population change, changes in age distribution, communities getting older. You're not alone in that sense, where your 65 plus population is becoming a larger portion of your overall demographic population in the town. We're seeing that throughout the Northeast and most places nationally. We looked at housing characteristics such as housing type, housing age, employment characteristics, where people work, how many people live in Cicero and travel outside for work, how many people travel from outside of Cicero into the town, and how many people live and work in the same town in Cicero. We looked at those types of trends. We looked at the sectors that people work in. Education and healthcare is the largest employment sector. And then you've got finance, insurance, and real estate. And no surprise, you've got retail as one of your major employment sectors as well. We looked at the roadway network, volumes, safety and crash analysis, et cetera. We looked at things as such as where are parks and open space in the community, where are wetlands and flood zones and floodplains, where are areas that might be too wet to build upon. We looked at existing land use pattern in the town. Obviously, the big green area in the center is the swamp that you see on all of these maps. And we took all that information, we took the public input, we took the community input that we got at the 2 workshops, and we came together with a framework. So the first policy area, there's 5 of them. Where we live, this talks about housing and how people live in the community. So we came up with 3 strategies: provide housing options, a wider variety of housing options as people want to age in place, or if younger families want to move into the area, are there accommodations and opportunities for that to occur? What we heard loud and clear throughout our input was protect the character of these existing neighborhoods. So the heart of Cicero, which is the literal geographic heart where people live, but also the heart of Cicero that is the neighborhoods that you'll see a map of in a few slides. People are really proud of their quality of life in the town, and to maintain that as we move forward into the next decade, that the heart of Cicero, those neighborhoods, stay positive and valuable. Policy area 2, how we travel. This is transportation, getting around the town. So obviously we want to strengthen connections within the town, plan for and manage increased traffic. I don't think I talked to anyone throughout my time here that's saying that I wish I had more traffic on the road. So we heard that loud and clear. So making sure as things change in Cicero or as things stay the same in Cicero, can we manage traffic better, smarter, et cetera. As I mentioned earlier, one of the big things we heard early on and throughout the process was trying to enhance walkability and the ability to bike in the town. And again, that doesn't have to be equal everywhere for everyone, but there are opportunities to improve that. So how do we do that going forward? It's something we wanted to introduce as a concept in the document. Policy area number 3, how we grow. When things change in Cicero, and it might not be grow in number of people, but maybe grow in older population or grow in younger population in terms of school-age children. So as things change in the community, how do we react to it as a community in terms of community services, parks and recreation, enhancements for quality of life for residents in terms of education, lifelong learning, whatever the case may be. What are the community, social, and public services that are going to be necessary, and what form are they going to take 5 or 10 years down the road to adequately serve all of you in the room? Where we work, so this is more the economic development piece of the document. How are we going to leverage anticipated future investment? How are we going to support business growth and investment in the town? And how are we going to balance that growth and new investment with the community character that people care about and want to see maintained? Final policy area, what we preserve. So we're talking about our natural resources, promoting green infrastructure, sustainable land use practices, and mitigating the impacts of new investment. As new projects come into the town, how do we make sure that they don't impact our natural resources and the natural environment in a negative way? So one of the main tenets of a comprehensive plan is to guide future land use decisions. This is not a zoning map, but it will guide future zoning efforts. So as you can see, there are, I should count, 1, 2, 12, I think, different colored polygons or blobs, as I like to call them, on the map. I'm going to touch on some of them, not all of them, just for the sake of time. So let's jump in. First one I want to touch on is that residential, that single family core residential neighborhood that you see in the center of the town, and then along the lakefront, and then up here near Brewerton. I'm guessing how many, just a show of hands, how many people live in the center part of town or up near Brewerton in one of those yellow areas, give or take? Okay, thank you. So as I said earlier, those are key. We heard it loud and clear. We want to keep that quality of life the way it is. Can we improve upon it with more pedestrian friendly or bike friendly accommodations? Perhaps we will look into that in the future. That'll be one of the next steps. But we want to make sure that those areas are taken care of. The other area I want to talk about is this, I call it kind of a greenish, a light green. The dark green's the swamp and the parks. You could argue with me on color, dark mustard, whatever the case may be. This agricultural land use category. The idea there is to, again, accommodate the agricultural activity that currently is happening in the town, as well as some of the undeveloped areas in the town. What does the future hold for those areas? No one's saying that farming should go away or has to go away. Quite the contrary. That's why we're keeping it on the map as agriculture. But there are some other things to consider over time. Again, this doesn't have to happen next week or next year. But some communities in these areas say, look, that farm is very valuable to us, or that area of the town is very valuable to us. Let's work with the county or the state or through various grant programs to potentially preserve that in perpetuity through a PDR program, purchase of development rights program, or something similar with outside partners. One thing that came up a handful of times was allowing farmers markets, not just in the agricultural areas, but maybe elsewhere in the town where they might make sense. So you can have some more agricultural products available in the town from the source. And then there was some conversation about, is there a way to allow some residential growth in these areas while maintaining the rural character? Can we have that balance of some limited residential growth, but also agricultural character, undeveloped character at the same time? Can you balance that? Some communities have done that quite well. So the answer is yes, you can do both. So the plan talks about the idea to potentially look into that and how that might happen. The plan doesn't go into exhaustive detail because the next step would be to talk about zoning and some of the regulatory techniques to get that balance. The plan says this is something we heard throughout the process. Let's talk more about it. Some of you who may have been to the last public meeting, the triangle up here off of 81, that was in a former version, that was colored orange, which is mixed residential. Based on feedback we heard through the public and through some conversations with the board, that has been changed from mixed residential orange to agricultural green. So some of you may remember that from a previous meeting. Regional mixed use, that's the red. So that's essentially your shopping district down on 11, south of 31, west of 81. The idea there is to keep allowing large scale, small scale retail establishments, commercial establishments, but improve the corridor's appearance as its function as best we can. Enhance pedestrian connectivities, maybe not necessarily across 11, but maybe between establishments on 11. So keeping that land use pattern similar to what it is today, but enhancing it significantly. And another idea in the in the pink is the town center idea. Is you've got 81, you've got 31, you've got 11, and is there an opportunity to do something bigger there, taller, a little higher scale? The town obviously does not have a historic village. That's just not the way you developed over time. You've got it down here, but the idea is, can we have a walkable mixed-use town center type idea in this area? Bless you. And what that might look like. This is not Cicero. This is an example from another community that has, kind of not a little less intense as your Route 11, but what they've done over time through a lot of different investment, private, public, et cetera, is to say, look, we want to be more like this, a little more walkable, a little more attractive, a little more visual appealing over time. Again, this stuff doesn't happen overnight. So this is something that the town talks about a desire to accomplish along Route 11, but more specifically at the town center area. The hamlets, you've got Brewerton and Bridgeport. There's a lot of exciting things happening in Brewerton these days, a lot of projects, a lot of investment, a lot of public and private investment going on in there. So some of these things are happening as we speak. Some of these things will happen over time. Some of these things haven't quite happened in Bridgeport yet, but the idea to make those areas as walkable as we possibly can make them through good infrastructure projects, complete street projects, sidewalk projects, getting new investment to be, multi-story, potentially parking in the back, again, more of a traditional setting over time is something that is seemed desirable and recommended for both hamlets, Bridgeport and Brewerton. We took a stab at what Bridgeport might look like someday. You've got the existing today. Here's a medium density scenario, and here's a higher density scenario. Doesn't mean that this is going to happen overnight or this is the right answer, but talking about what does that mean if, when John says more walkable and a higher density, these are some visualizations to articulate that graphically rather than just saying it in words. So the next step in the plan, the last chapter, talks about increasing housing options, developing an active transportation plan. I just found out tonight that there is funding coming the town's way to accomplish that, so kudos to the town. That will help to improve vehicular circulation and access as well. But I think, as we all know, the traffic is a concern for a lot of you now, and that will likely increase over time. So we got to make sure that we're constantly talking about that as a community. And the board is dealing with that on a daily basis, but the plan really wanted to put it out there front and center because we heard it time and time again that getting around the town is challenging, and we want to make sure that as we go forward, we're as smart as we can be to mitigate those impacts over the next decade as new things come to our region and come to the town. Finally, you have a lot of good recreational resources in the town. And the idea is, what's the future hold for all of those? One of the things that a lot of communities have a lot of success with is doing a Parks and Recreation Master Plan to guide the change in investment in these facilities over 10 years and help get grant funding to accomplish those things. So this plan will hopefully spur just a couple other planning efforts that will help provide further detail, further refinement, and set you up for even more grant and outside funding opportunities. So then my initial thought, we were going to go right into draft overlay district, but I'm going to hold here and I'm going to skip ahead, just bear with me, to this. So Supervisor, that's all I had for the comprehensive plan presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have any comments here? No? Okay, we'll open up the public hearing at 6:57 p.m. Would anyone like to come up and speak on behalf or against?
Hi, Jay Reardon. I used to live at 8763 Brewerton Road. My friend bought my house, trying to close on a house in Derby Farms on Pony Lane now. So, anyway, I just really sincerely want to congratulate the town board and all of you for moving beyond some of what might have been perceived as nonsense from late last year and focusing on this stuff, which is really important going forward. So really, kudos to the entire town board, town councilors, Mr. Supervisor, great job. And I'm sure it took a lot of effort to get here. So I just want to recognize that and give you the best kudos I can muster.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did a poll on Nextdoor and I'm a little bit concerned about the results. The poll was, do you think Micron is coming or not? Got about 200 responses from the community. 89 responses are 47%. 47% said yes. And 99 responses or 53% said no. And that's a little bit concerning because of the disconnect in public perception. The insiders, the people who are involved in this, the real estate people, the Micron people, and the politicians have a much higher perception of whether Micron is going to succeed or not and is actually going to come here. I mean, realistically, if I were to estimate what the insiders think, it's probably around 90 to 95% that Micron's going to happen. And although this comprehensive plan, which is spectacular and wonderful and had a lot of great work go into it, this comprehensive plan is not necessarily based on Micron coming here, but at the same time, it sort of kind of is. I would urge you going forward to maybe do what you can to rectify this discrepancy in the public opinion. I mean, when 47% of the people say that Micron is happening and the insiders say double that, 95%, that's kind of a problem. So if you can do what you can in that regard, I think that'd be great. The issues that I see that are not discussed by the comprehensive plan are three. They're short-term rentals and Airbnbs, number one. I'm sure you will be addressing these in the future, but I think some guidance about how the process will proceed and how you will address these three issues in the future would be helpful to communicate publicly to the community. There's the short-term rental issue, the Airbnb issue. It's not in the comprehensive plan. It's not in the waterfront overlay district. The second issue is the issue of ADUs, or accessory dwelling units. This was discussed at the one of the comprehensive plan meetings that John conducted over there at the senior center. He was in, what was that, late January? Yeah, late January. So again, the ADU issue, like the short-term rental issue, is not really in the comprehensive plan, not in the waterfront overlay district. It's a really nice, I mean, it's not going to be a high volume thing, but it's a really nice way of demonstrating to higher government authorities that you're doing what you can to increase the housing stock. And that's what's needed, I think, to help Cicero get money. There's a third issue, which is a very technical construction issue. There's an issue with glorified double wides coming to town. And none of you know this, and I know you don't know this, but I've had discussions with new home builders. They want to bring what's called a cross mod to town. And a cross mod, and I'll send you links. So you're looking at me inquisitively, John, and I will send you links, okay? I got tons of documentation on this. This is a product that came out in the late 2010s. It's a glorified double wide, comes with a garage, higher roof pitch, and other things to dress it up, make it look like a real modular home that's built to IRC codes, but it's not. It's a glorified double wide. It's built to the HUD codes. And I think that this is the third issue that needs to be rectified. Just giving you a heads up now, because I'm going to give you some documentation on this. And that, along with the short-term rental issue and the ADU issue, are things that I think are missing in the comprehensive plan and the waterfront overlay district proposal. The cross mods make developers a ton of money. Love to sell them here. I don't think they're a good idea for the town.
What are they called again?
Cross mod,
Cross
one
mod.
word, cross mod. It's capital CROSS, capital MOD. Send you all some links. But again, this is a great plan. John and the steering committee and the other people involved have done a spectacular job. Thank you for leading this forward. Thank you for focusing on what's what. And again, thank you so much for just making this the priority for the town. Great job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony Rojas, you submitted a letter. Do you want to read this up here? Do you want to read it, seeing that you're here?
I can just summarize it.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Rojas. I may be a little biased because I was involved with the comprehensive plan here and trying to give as much input as we can, but I'm also a resident of Cicero and an architect. And we work with a lot of, private developers and understanding what limitations exist within the existing zoning codes and the comprehensive plans as they're put together. And we know we're in a competitive environment. Developers can choose to go anywhere. So I guess just a couple of things to consider. We live in an area where we know there's limited infrastructure. We know the county is not in a position to extend that infrastructure. So really trying to enhance those systems to allow for increased developments within those corridors. Two of those corridors that seem to make sense, north on Route 11 and Route 31, north of 31 on Route 11. Giving flexibility to the developers to allow for increased densities within those two corridors leverages the existing infrastructure there. And then the second is also the existence of wetlands. I can't tell you how many times we have developers coming excited saying, I just purchased 15 acres and we do our wetland delineations and you've got 1 acre of development, opportunity on that parcel. So in being able to identify those 2 corridors, I think knowing that wetlands exist in much more, especially as you get closer to the swamp, leveraging the limited area because we don't have as much developable land as we think in this town. A simple way that we could look into doing this is similar to what you're doing at the lakefront in doing an overlay district, possibly creating an overlay district within the existing commercial corridors that give the developer the flexibility to propose an idea and saying you could try to achieve the zoning that we'd like to see along these corridors of industrial, of commercial, things like that along those corridors, but give them the flexibility to do housing above that so that we can then increase the density and utilize the infrastructure and not go into developing on undisturbed lands. I think you achieve both of those issues by incorporating that. And with a simple overlay, I think we could achieve that. So I appreciate what you guys have all done. And John, I think, has done a fantastic job kind of guiding this process. So kudos to everyone. I think, in thinking about this comprehensive plan, I think we're trying to create the guardrails to achieve the overall vision. And there are layers to be able to control those proposed developments when you get into the zoning code, when you get to the planning board and utilizing them. But in trying to consider the comprehensive plan and creating the most amount of flexibility from this perspective initially, I think allows for people to approach the board with ideas, with concepts to be able to make proposals. If you create too much of a constraint on this at this level, I think you'll just create a barrier to even allow for that conversation to start. So that's all I'd like to kind of express today. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Terry Manning. I'm chairman of the Bridgeport Civic Organization. I'd like to applaud the efforts that you folks are making to capitalize on Oneida Lake as a magnet. It's goes without saying, people love to be around the water. At the same time, I would caution you folks to please be aware and responsive to your current residents and their concerns and needs. And also, let's not forget affordability. Not everybody can afford $1 million house. And that seems to be the way that everybody wants to bid up the prices and not everybody can afford it. Speaking on behalf of Bridgeport, I want to thank you guys for including Bridgeport as part of the master plan. But I would also tell you, please don't overlook Chittenango Creek as an opportunity for significant development. There's a lot of undeveloped land along Chittenango Creek. It's a deep water dockage area. I personally kept a boat almost 2 miles down the creek, and it wasn't a small boat. It's very deep down through there. So that offers significant responsibility. The other thing I would call out about the master plan is please use your influence to get New York State DOT to do something with that godforsaken traffic circle we've got. It was one of the first in the Onondaga County in recent years. And I got to tell you, as I live there, it's the worst in Onondaga County. Please use your influence to fix that thing. I'm not saying I want it to go away. I think it's very, very valuable. It moves the traffic, but it's a frickin' joke, folks. Thank you.
Ashley, Mike, I figured out what email you were talking about. I had the wrong one in mind. John, Michael, I petitioned for all you to be on the ballot, and I gotta say, I'm very happy with the performance that you guys have done, just like all these other people. You've done a great job, and we have a lot of faith in you. And I appreciate the idea of having us come up here and listening to what we have to say. College rep, your name, sir, was? John, Sam. My main concern for coming tonight is I saw it was specifically with regard to the waterfront overlay wherein my home sits. It's a 100-year-old home. Most of the houses on my street are prior camps, so they're older type things. So when we talk about this type of thing, one of the earlier gentlemen talked about insiders. I looked at your Vision Cicero thing and reviewed it today. It talks about reshaping the place we call home. And I like to add, it's almost from what I see in our area, insiders reshaping it. Because from what I see, this overwhelming response that you got from people to maintain the character of their neighborhoods, this is going to do nothing but cause an uproar in my neighborhood. It's an older, quieter neighborhood, and I've got some concerns as far as that goes. And again, that was the overwhelming thing you got from people, so it's something we all need to consider. I know we have to move on with our community. Development is going to come. We're going to have more people. I'm not against that. But with that in light, when I go to look at the comprehensive plan, it talks about identifying the community's future version, which you spoke to. It talks about priorities. Are we looking at priorities for businesses or residential? Down below, it says provides a forum for discussion among community and business owners. It separates the two. And I think a lot of what we're looking at the waterfront overlay portion has to do with Mr. Hart's vision as a developer, and not a whole lot about what the current residents of the area really want. This is kind of following as I went through this thing page by page. It talks about opening access to the waterfront. This is not the response from the people, but this is what you folks put in here. Without increasing the level of traffic to the area. I don't know how you can do that where we live. We have a lot of people drive through because it's a beautiful spot. Mrs. Tassone owns part of the road, and she allows people to pass through so they can see the lake. We get a lot of drive-by people. We get a lot of walkers, that type of thing. If we're going to take that area that Mr. Hart is talking about developing across the road from us, which is a golf course, and building a bridge that probably the town, because I think it's a town road, has to maintain forever, so his people that buy his property can put their boats underneath to go up these channels that he wants to put, dead-end channels that are probably going to end up being stagnant. There's nothing really feeding them but groundwater. I don't know how they're going to be cleaned out to be like a dead marina. But again, the character of the neighborhood would be completely changed. One of the post-its that someone put up in regard to the waterfront areas, it says attract hundreds of people, public parking and an adjacent park. You can't attract hundreds of people without doing what your mission is without increasing local traffic. I'm just trying to point out that for my area where we live, this is going to be just complete change to the character of the place. And honestly, I don't think most of my neighbors want it. We're happy to have people come through. It's nice that people can see the thing, but to do this, and what will happen eventually is someone will come in and buy an older house, and they'll put an $800,000 thing in its place based upon the parameters that we put for that area. It's got specific building criteria. So what will happen is Mr. Groy, our assessor, will say that, oh, that area is more valuable now for a piece of property. Look at the houses that are being built there. So the older generation, mine, that has these older houses, their taxes will increase and we'll get run out of town. You know this happens. It happens with that. We're talking about building a walkway within the area so people can walk along the lake. That tells me that we're talking about taking property rights from people. I don't know if it's eminent domain. You talked about using regulatory tools to do this and that type of thing. And I'm trustful about you guys with regard to this. I don't just trust anyone, but I think we need to really look at this. This is what we're talking about. We're going to build these things and walkways. We're going to have to take people's property. We're going to take part of the rights for their property, let other people pass through it. We're going to discuss this waterfront overlay. This is what we're talking about, a total transition that is not in line with keeping the character of the thing. And I think it's all because Mr. Hart wants this done. You talk to local residents. I've talked to most of my neighbors. I talked to someone who talked to Mrs. Tassone on the other street. They're against it. This is not doing what you tell us the thing is going to do. We know damn well it's not going to do that. So with that in mind, I just say thank you for listening. Please keep that in mind, and I hope most of this goes through, but again, and if you, I know what I was going to add. If you look at Mr. Hart's thing at Great Northern Mall, it's going to be a great thing. He's going to put apartments on top of this and that kind of stuff. All I see from that place up there, it's going downhill. Sky Zone was purchased by the Tui family or rented by them, and they built that. But that whole facility there where Dick's used to be and stuff, you're lucky you don't lose your car in a pothole on the way to BJ's. It's terrible. If that's any indication of what he's going to do over here, and it probably is because that's what I see from him, I'm really concerned because again, that's my neighborhood. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else for the comprehensive plan?
Good evening, Judy Boyke. I'm going to speak to the comprehensive plan right now and then come back for the public hearing for the waterfront overlay, so that it'll break it up. First of all, when we talk about, well, it's been mentioned about Micron, all of us have to keep in mind, and most of us do, that the people we elect are you people. Micron has nothing to do with electing you. And they won't, because you're in the town of Cicero. They're going to be in the town of Clay. So Micron is great if it happens. I'm in real estate, 33 years. We're not hyped, at least my company and several other companies are not hyped about it, because right now the cost of building since COVID has increased 100%, and it's going up more. It used to be you could use like waterfront property, $1,000 a square foot would give you the cost of the land. The other part of the comprehensive plan is the cost. As a taxpayer, with the increase in the infrastructure, and now we have to talk about more police because we have more people. Now we talk about the highway department. We have to increase our highway department, which is right now a 24/7 department, particularly in the area where we are, where our environment has changed almost back to where it was. The increase in our zoning department. Our zoning department is very, very, very unstaffed, even today. You guys need to look at increasing our zoning department to accommodate what is proposed in the comprehensive plan. The Parks and Rec, doing a great job. But again, the more land that is used for recreational within the town of Cicero is a cost to the taxpayer, plus it's a cost to them twice because of the fact of the maintenance and then the cost to incorporate the people to take care of it and monitor it. I worked at GE for 33 years. I've been a realtor for 33 years. I've lived in the town of Cicero since the day I was born. My family has been here for over 150 years, along with many other the residents in this town. Obviously, we've seen it grow. We totally understand what growth is, but you can't put it on the backs of the people who live here. You have to do it in a way that is comparable to the costs that they can afford as well as anybody else that comes in here. I attend all of the planning board meetings. When we talk about what we want to see, we bring big box people in here or whatever. They come with a brand. They come with a color. They come with a logo. They come with a sign. Those are the branding things that we people who are in the service of real estate or a service to the people. So we have to take that into consideration as well. We cannot force them to go gray or tan without giving them some flexibility. I understand totally what the comprehensive plan is because I worked on it for 2 years prior to this coming about. It's not an easy thing, and it takes a long time. I do have a question, though. Is there a person on the comprehensive board that is a waterfront owner? One of the members? Mary Scanlon? Thank you. All right, Bridgeport. Bridgeport has always been like our adopted child. Sorry. Sorry, but I adopted you. But even though there's a short part of it, when I was a supervisor, I tried to get all these even to go down there. And again, we cooperate with Bridgeport, the town. We cooperate with the town of Sullivan. And that's a good thing. The new flags that are up, they look great. And so it's good to see that we're still, as a board and as a town, looking forward to helping them as well. As far as the center for the town, that is the most horrendous section of this town. As far as the busyness, the traffic, the congestion under the bridge, without a change there, the center of town, unless we put it way back in the middle of nowhere, maybe behind Cracker Barrel, that it might work. But just a thought. Thank you. I'll be back.
Come on up.
Honorable Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. John, could you go back to the slide that was the last slide on the comprehensive plan that had the 4 goals for us? So I'd like to ask, how come we have so many long faces here tonight? Huh? How come so many long faces?
Watching you and listening to this crap.
Hey, this is an opportunity.
I'm on the sign up sheet, sir.
This is an opportunity that
Take back.
I don't think we've seen here in Cicero in the 34 years that I've been here. And I'm happy that, no, I participated in the comprehensive board. Yeah, but I do think that we need to, there are pieces of the plan that we can continue to debate, but I think the town board has an opportunity to accept the plan and to move on, right? If we had had this opportunity 25 years ago, my kids and my grandkids might still be living here because they would be excited about the opportunities in Cicero. And I want to find a place when I move out of my house of 34 years here in Cicero that I want to move into, right? I travel around the country looking at these condos and rentals that are beautiful along the water. John, you're from Rochester. What do we have? We have Fairport and Spencerport and Penfield. These places are beautiful. They have beautiful townhouses along the water, and they've really capitalized on their waterfront. Florida, Michigan, the same kind of thing. I think we can do it here. So I'm encouraging the town board, first of all, smile, guys. This is a good opportunity, right? Smile, get the plan, get on board with the plan. And please, there are 4 categories here, right? And I think we can identify a team or a liaison or a committee to work each of these categories. And so what I'd like to do is ask you guys, get on board and try to identify somebody and continue to follow up with an action item under each of these categories. Would you consider that? John, good job with the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you, guys. Yep.
Thank you. Yes,
I'm sorry, John McAuliffe, 8844 Lombardi Drive, Cicero.
comprehensive plan?
Yeah, yeah,
Come on up.
I would like to think so, anyway.
Yeah, you got it.
My name's Joe Snyder. I live on Beach Road, been there, the present house, I've been there 50 years. I've been in the town of Cicero almost 60 years. A little bit on the tax. I'm the waterfront owner. And I have a nice lot, more than most people on Beach Road. But some of the housing there has been built so close together, it's ridiculous. The other thing is, taxes. When I bought my property, $400. I'm up to almost $12,000 now. That's almost every 2 years I pay for my house again for what I paid for it originally. Now, I realize most people don't live in their same house for the long time. But the other thing is, being a lakefront owner, 50 years ago, we used the lake a lot. Boat traffic and toys that are people are using now, it just changed the water usage. And with this high density stuff, you got to start thinking about all these people are going to come out here and they want to use the water. We're not Lake Ontario that this other guy was talking about. This is Oneida Lake, much smaller body of water that we're working with. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the comprehensive plan?
How you doing tonight? My name is Dave Bersani. I'm.
Sir, sir,
I'd like to meet people.
you got to stand up here, please.
Can I do this? How's that? This plan that's been put forth is going to alter our community drastically. If, people talk about roadways, how much land do you have along the road? You want to expand that road? Say goodbye to your front lot. You want a walkway along the water? Say goodbye to the other side of your lot, okay? Job opportunities that's gonna open up for us. How many people work at McDonald's? Walmart? How many are you retired?
Sir,
Right.
we're not gonna do this. You can
Okay,
just-
but what I'm saying is, the plan put forth by this gentleman and such, it'd been better if you had local pictures of local places. It's a fallacy. It's a fantasy. We need infrastructure, electrical, sewer, water, not just roads. Okay, let's not talk about the schools. Where are you gonna get labor to run these businesses? Have more empty stores? Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the comp plan? That being said, anybody up here have anything to say? Mike, what time do we have? We'll close. We're gonna leave this one open. We'll move on to the next
I
one.
think we have to.
We
have to adjourn it to a date certain.
What's the date? 3/26?
326, yeah.
3/26, 2025 at 6:30 PM.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Public hearing considering the changes to chapter 210 of the town code. Purpose of these changes would be to establish a waterfront overlay district along the south shore of Oneida Lake. And at this time, I'd like to move to waive the reading of the legal notices posted and advertised at the proper time.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that my cue?
Go ahead.
Okay. Without getting into too much detail on the nuances of connecting planning to zoning, I can stand out of the doorway now. One, for those of you commenting on the comprehensive plan, thank you. Regardless of what you said, thank you for being here. Thank you for your comments. It's an important document. So thank you for taking the energy to share your thoughts. when you start to connect planning, vision, ideas, hopes, fears into regulatory work, there's not just one way to do it. There's actually an infinite number of ways to do it. So this is one potential answer for dealing with some of the opportunities and issues, concerns that came up during the planning process. So this is something that can be morphed, it can be tweaked, it can be changed significantly or moderately depending on what we need to do to make sure it accomplishes what the town wants and needs it to accomplish. So with that, let me jump in. So the future land use, this is the planning document, if you haven't looked at it. So the waterfront overlay district in the comprehensive plan is a shaded area starting here, and it heads down to the eastern town boundary, give or take. So in the plan, the planning recommendation talks about providing opportunities for some higher density living opportunities, some mix of potential uses in that area, increase public access to the waterfront, and ensuring that when new development, new projects are proposed, they have a very high quality of development, whether it's building, site design features, et cetera. So those are some of the tenets from the comprehensive plan. Transitioning to the waterfront overlay district, first, let's talk about what an overlay district is intended to accomplish as a zoning tool. In its very simplest form, it's a zoning district that's overlaid on top of existing zoning districts that implements certain priorities, regulations, et cetera. So currently, in the proposed waterfront overlay district boundary, there is agriculturally zoned land, 3 different residential zoning classifications, the mixed multiple residential RM district, neighborhood commercial district. Some parcels are zoned general commercial, and then some parcels are developed through what's called a plan unit development. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 different zoning classifications in that area. All of those still hold true. So if you're a single family home in an R10 or R12 or R15 district, you're still a single family home in an R10, R12 or R15 district. What happens on top of it is this overlay district. So the idea is, what can we, are there some things we want to regulate or promote or control across all those different districts? Some communities say, we want signage to be the same across all these districts. So some communities develop overlay districts to control signage, for example. Some communities develop overlay districts for different types of uses like we proposed in this current draft of the document. So there's a lot of different reasons and motivations for overlay districts. And I think the idea is, can we fill in some of the gaps of the underlying districts to enhance what they're proposing to do and have done for years, and augmenting them in some particular way or multiple ways. So the purpose for the waterfront overlay district in Cicero is to protect and reinforce the town's identity as a lakefront community, encourage high quality building design, accommodate visual and physical access to the water, respect existing lakefront residential character, support mixing of uses in appropriate areas, and protect water quality and natural resources. In terms of its applicability, so the applicability, this is intended to govern and regulate construction of new multifamily, commercial, or other non-residential development. This does not apply to construction, modification, or expansions of existing single-family homes. So if you have an existing single-family home and you want to expand it, you would go through the process like you normally would through a C of O, a building permit from Steve's office. So currently, single-family homes do not require site plan review. So single-family homes are still the way it's always been. You want to change your siding, you want to replace your roof, you want to expand at a playroom for the kids or the grandkids, the process has not changed. So again, does not apply to construction, modification, or expansion of single-family homes. It does not have any impact on existing lawfully permitted uses. So if you're a non-conforming use currently, and you can still remain a non-conforming use for the foreseeable future, depending on, I haven't memorized your non-conforming section, but usually if you burn down or something like God awful, something happens to your property, those may kick in, but nothing in this overlay district is going to add any additional burden or review to lawfully existing uses. You don't have to go out and change your property the day after this is adopted. That is not the way this is intended to operate. There was a question that came in online about impacting the sale of lawfully existing uses. Again, it does not impact the sale of your property. Just as your current zoning regulations do not impact the sale of your property, this does not either. I touched on this briefly, but I'll say it again. Somebody asked about grandfathering in existing uses or non-conforming structures or buildings. If they're a legally existing use, conforming or otherwise, if they're legally existing, this does not impact you. One of the things it does do is gives the town board some flexibility to require a higher level of investment from multiple family properties, multiple residential properties, and potentially mixed use properties and potentially commercial uses. So if a use comes in that does want to take advantage of this overlay district, they don't have to, but they say, hey, oh, there's something in here that interests me. I want to try this type of development, a mixing of uses or something of that, for example. The town can say, okay, in that instance, we may require, if you're a waterfront property, we may require you to provide us waterfront access. This district does not say the town is going to go out and proactively start to negotiate with every property owner along the waterfront to build a public walkway. That is not what the purpose of this district is. It's a reactive district to someone with an idea. So if someone says, I want to do a mixed use property, mixed use project, and they're willing to say, hey, I can provide waterfront access because my property allows for it. The town could say, well, we want a sidewalk along your particular property, not the neighbors or anything like that, but yours, or some other of these features. The developer can then say, okay, I will consider giving you some public access to the waterfront or build some pedestrian connectivity, but I want something in exchange for that. And then the town can offer incentives that includes modifying the dimensional requirements of the site, the height, et cetera. So it's a give and take between amenities for the town and potential incentives for a developer or property owner. Any project, regardless of what it is under this district, again, not a single family home, would still require site plan review. If it's a specially permitted use, it would still require a special permit. It would still require environmental review. There would still be numerous times for the community to comment on that in public hearings throughout the development review process. So we're not trying to subject that in any way or change that in any way to change the rules or to skirt those current provisions or procedures. This is the boundary of the current waterfront overlay district. And before we get into the public hearing, the last thing that I wanted to touch on, which is relevant to this, even though it came up in the public comment of the public for the comprehensive plan, is the short-term rental conversation. That is something that the town board has talked to us about helping with. That is something that is on our to-do list. It will be accomplished separately outside of this. And depending on where we land as a community and as a board, we can then retroactively very easily either put short-term rentals into this district or other districts where it makes sense. So that's not something we've overlooked. It's just something we haven't gotten to yet. It can be a little complicated procedurally if you do it correctly. So we want to make sure we do it correctly. So with that, I will turn it over to the supervisor.
Thank you very much, John. Okay, anybody up here have anything to say?
Just briefly to reiterate something that Mr. Steinmetz said, because I got an email about it, and actually someone asked me about it in person today. No one is talking about the forcible acquisition of easements across anybody's property for this. I think that the language regarding public access to the waterfront gave a lot of people that impression. That is not something that I would support, and I feel comfortable saying that's not something that anyone up here would ever support.
Absolutely not.
That is not contemplated. That is not a possibility. That's not even a remote possibility of anything that anyone intends to or will see happen.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Mike, at what time? 7:39. Okay, before we have anybody come up and speak, we have a few letters here that were sent in. Sorry, guys, especially for the late email, but unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to make the meeting tonight. I hope this can be read and I appreciate it. Thank you. Dear members of the Cicero Town Council, I'm writing to express my strong support for the proposed water overlay district WOD. As a resident of the pastures, I have seen firsthand how limited public access to Oneida Lake has been a longstanding issue in our town. Currently, residents are primarily restricted to Williams Beach and Riverfront Park, which is, while valuable, does not provide sufficient access for the border community or the broader community. The WOD presents an opportunity to change this dynamic and create a more inclusive and vibrant waterfront for all. By implementing the WOD, developers will be required to incorporate public access into their projects, ensuring that the Oneida Lake becomes more accessible to all residents. This model has been successfully implemented in communities across New York State, including Canandaigua, Pittsburgh, Cazenovia, Skaneateles, and Lake Placid. These towns have thrived by embracing well-planned waterfront development to enhance both public enjoyment and economic growth. There is no reason why Cicero cannot follow this example and create a waterfront that benefits everyone. Additionally, I encourage the town to explore the partnership in New York State to further expand public access in conjunction with private development. A collaborative approach between the town, state, and developers could maximize the benefits of the initiative, ensuring that our waterfront remains an asset for generations to come. The WOD also includes much-needed housing requirements that will enhance our community by ensuring the future housing developments and accessible to the diverse range of residents, not just those with the means to afford high-end lakefront properties. We can foster a more inclusive and united town. A thoughtfully developed waterfront will not only provide recreational and economic benefits, but will also help build a stronger sense of community among all residents. I urge the town council to move forward with the WOD to create a future where Oneida Lake is more accessible, our community more connected, and our town more prosperous. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, John Law, resident of Pastures, Cicero, New York.
I'll read this, which was sent to Supervisor Aragano and the rest of us. Dear honorable members of the Cicero Town Council, I hope this letter finds you well. My name is Edward Seguier, and I have been a proud resident of Van Antwerp Drive in Cicero for several years. Recently, I made a significant investment in my property, further solidifying my commitment to this community and its future. As someone who's developed a deep appreciation for the history of Lakeshore Road and the surrounding corridor, I am writing today to express my strong support for the proposed waterfront overlay district. Through my personal research and growing interest in the local history, I've learned how this area once thrived with vibrant resorts, hotels, restaurants, bars, and camps along Oneida Lake. It was a hub of activity, attracting both residents and visitors who contributed to the vitality of our town. Unfortunately, much of that commercial energy has faded, and with the skyrocketing prices of lakefront properties, many doubling or tripling in value over the past decade, it has become increasingly difficult for many to live or invest in this area. The proposed overlay district is an essential step in revitalizing this historic corridor while addressing the realities of modern growth. By encouraging thoughtful, strategic development, we have an opportunity to create a lakeside village reminiscent of Skaneateles, one that fosters community, economic growth, and quality of life. However, unlike the limited housing market in Skaneateles, Cicero's continuous population growth extending into Syracuse provides a unique opportunity to balance residential and commercial growth sustainably. Rather than allowing property values to climb beyond the reach of most residents, the overlay district can provide diverse, inclusive development, offering spaces for small businesses, dining, entertainment, and family activities. Furthermore, the environmental benefits of the overlay district are equally compelling. The incorporation of riparian buffers aligns with New York State's environmental goals and helps protect the integrity of our lakefront. By implementing these measures, we can significantly reduce chemical runoff into Oneida Lake, promoting native species and preserving our region's natural beauty. Our lake is a true jewel of Cicero, and this overlay district offers a tangible way to protect it while enhancing our community. Having traveled extensively across the country, I have witnessed firsthand how village center development transforms communities, bringing residents closer together and creating places where people want to live, work, and raise their families. The idea of introducing luxury hotels, premier dining options, and family-friendly activities along our waterfront is not just an exciting prospect, It is a necessary step toward securing a vibrant, prosperous future for Cicero. I wholeheartedly encourage the council to support the Waterfront Overlay District. This initiative is not just about development. It's about honoring our history, protecting our environment, and ensuring that Cicero continues to be a place where people of all ages and backgrounds can thrive. Thank you for your time, consideration, and continued dedication to the betterment of our community. Sincerely, Edward Seguier, 6983 Van Antwerp Drive, Cicero.
Okay. Would anyone like to come up? Speak? Okay.
Good evening again, Judy Boyke, Muskrat Bay. Let's start with Beach Road and Muskrat Bay Road. Even though they are not part of the overlay, so to speak, those two roads are very narrow. Barely 2 cars pass, and with courtesy. Those 2 roads are used for runners, bikes, bicyclists, crop walks, any type of an event. One of the issues with that is, for the folks who live there, is while this event is going on, the property owners are never notified. And during that time, the road is taken over. I actually have been stopped several times on my way to church and told that I had to wait for the runners, which is ridiculous. So I would like to see some type of an improvement in those 2 areas, along with whatever else we're looking at as far as infrastructure. In the overlay, can you put the map up of the overlay, please? A question while he's doing that. The zoning on Lakeshore Road. Back in Vineski's day, when we were on the board, it got changed to commercial. Do you remember that?
Some of it did, but a lot of it was
Certain
non-conforming ag that got changed to residential. I remember that also.
The majority of it, because it started from Route 31.
There was some of that, yeah. I remember that.
Is that still the same?
Is the majority of the property zoned commercial? No. Majority is zoned residential.
Was that, true, I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to argue, but I'm just trying to clarify. When we were on the board, it was voted to change Lakeshore Road to commercial property.
That was Route 11.
That too.
No,
Route
most of
11.
Lakeshore Road was a non-conforming ag
Yeah,
that
there
was
was
changed to
issues with-
residential.
With lots that were zoned agricultural that didn't meet the geometric.
Right.
Right.
areas, and they were
So-
changed to an R20 or an R12 or an R15.
Right.
And then there were some properties that were changed to commercial, like Boreals, I think, was changed to commercial. So-
Wysocki's maybe.
Well,
Yeah, not all.
right.
There was, yeah.
I'll dig it up.
Yeah.
Obviously. All right. When we talk about availability for the water, we talk about the view. In the real estate business, that was always a joke. Because people go, well, you know, I love the view. The view is worth $1 million when someone's selling it. Well, guess what? The bank doesn't give you money for the view. When we go out in a different place, we view Cazenovia, we view Skinny Ellis, or we view West Monroe. We review, when we're out, we look at different areas. Yes, it's fascinating to be on the water. It's great to be on the water. There's a lot of work being a waterfront owner. And I find it hard to understand why, but I do understand why people who don't live on the water want to go to it. We have Oneida Shores. We have several marinas. We have the yacht club, the country club. And one question I wondered is, because, you know, we're looking at availability, is the yacht club available for personal, you know, for public to go out and view the water and use it? I think that's a question that we should probably ask.
Some trespassing signs up around the marina area. They don't want people going back in there unless they're yacht club members. They don't know about the parking lot just below the yacht club, adjacent to it. But it's south end of the marina that's posted.
Okay, well, that is such a large piece of property. It would be interesting to not have that while it is available, to be available for public use. Let me see, you already mentioned Airbnbs, VRBOs. Yeah, they're great, but they're not great in a residential area. They need to be regulated. It needs to be, there needs to be laws, there needs to be zones, because right now in our area, there are probably 15 to 20 houses that are rented out as an Airbnb. And it was said that it's your property, you can do anything you want with it. Well, I've had several people say, well, with the price of eggs, I'm getting a chicken coop. My property, I can do anything I want with it. Keep that in mind. In the zoning, you talk about flexibility for, let's say, favors for the height of a building or the expansion of the building or whatever. That can't be just for new developers. That has to be all residents. If someone wants to change theirs and it's not in the laws or the rules, they have the right as well to have that opportunity to do so. Let me see. With the heavy increase in the internet since COVID, you've all seen the change in people's shopping, people's dining out, people even going to church. They find it convenient to stay home, have their groceries delivered. They work at home. They watch their mass on TV at home. So the opportunity to increase more restaurants, that would be wonderful. But the fear is, will they survive? Because so many people have gotten into the usage of convenience. Lastly, just to bring it to your attention, January this year, the DEC has proposed a law to take 100 feet of all of the property all the way around Oneida Lake, 100-foot buffer all the way around the lake for the DEC's control. I'm sure a lot of people out here didn't know that, but it's online. If you go in and you look up New York State, upstate, you can just put in 100-foot buffer, New York DEC. The Oneida Lake Association did show it and has presented it. And it is now in the Senate. There is a law where it's being proposed to do this. So there's a lot of things going out there with the waterfront, not just us property owners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Harmon. I live on 8917 Shellman Drive, and I'm Vice President of the Oneida Lake Association. And I want to thank Judy for bringing up that point. We're talking about the overlay district that you're creating, but New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has beat you to it. They've developed an overlay around the entire lake, at this lake and other lakes, and they've now retained the right to designate a lake like Oneida Lake as a wetland. And as you know, once a property is designated as a wetland, it comes with a huge stack of laws and regulations. So I think it behooves the board and those people who are for this overlay and those people who are against the overlay to be well aware, as Judy said, the DEC has the right at 100-foot buffer around the entire lake to declare that a wetland. So last week I actually met with Senator Joe Griffo, and he's introducing a bill in the Senate, Bill S 3656. And this bill would exempt all lakes over 150 acres from this wetlands designation. The United Lake Association favors this bill. Casanova Lake Association, Chautauqua Lake Association does as well. So we're working with them as partners to achieve this bill. And I encourage everyone, whether you're for or against this particular project, if you own property within 100 feet of the lake, you should contact your legislators and have them back this bill. Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Astorino, 8432 Anglers Club, Cicero. I'm confused. All right, so I think there's a little bit of misconception going on right now because of maybe the article. And then is this part of the actual comprehensive plan? Because that's pretty good. Is this part of what we're trying to approve? So it's already in the plan. They're separate. That's what I'm questioning. Are they separate?
So there is mention in the foundation of the plan. The plan does introduce the concept. The plan does not go to that detail. They're two separate items, but under New York State procedures, when you're doing two land use related things that are so close together, you should consider them together, but they are two separate documents.
So I think there's a little bit misconception. There's a lot of residential people here, and I think some of this plan is targeted more for commercial use and having more control. And I've been to the planning boards where the plan, you can ask to do something and then they can say, well, not really, but we can horse trade this. So I got a question. Why wasn't from Long Point Road to the Brewerton, to the United Shores included? It's waterfront. Why was that omitted? We're talking about water. Their houses on a different street are different value. See, when we talk about high quality, we are all talking about cost, and we try to keep things affordable. Right now, things are out of control. Judy said it. New construction's crazy. I personally purchased a lot on Lakeshore Road. My intention is to build a house on Lakeshore Road. I'm not on the water, but do I fall under these guidelines? Because I'm in the overlay district, so you can tell me, single family house on Lakeshore Road.
A single family home, no.
To be built.
Correct.
So I don't have to worry about the views.
No.
I don't have to worry about color of siding and stuff, all that kind of stuff. So who is this targeted at?
Do you want me to? Yeah, so a couple of things. There's no mention of the color is not something that's in there.
No,
So
I know, I was being
I just
smart.
get that a lot. It's kind of like a zoner, like, oh, everyone mentions color when it's not in there.
Yeah.
So just one thing, if anyone gets triggered by color, it's not in there. So this is for someone who might be looking to do multi-unit, single-family home subdivision or multiple family development or mixed-use commercial type development. If you're a single-family home builder, owner, property owner.
I think that's where the misconception came out with the article. And I'm glad Mr. Karp said, we have no intention of taking anybody, an easement or a right of way or anything like that. And then the access is the next question I have. I've been out here 40 years. I don't know where these access points are. We talking about it. Where are they?
Again, it's reaction. If
Okay,
someone
okay.
says, I've got an idea over here, I want to build X, Y, or Z.
Perfect.
The
So
town board can say, well, then we might want public access for you because it'd be appropriate.
so this is really an overlay that's going to handle multifamily, mixed use, but not the everyday waterfront homeowner. I think that's a clarification that this audience needs to hear, because I think that's not what the article said, that, you know, I can give an easement and this guy can come down and go fishing, that type of thing. So thank you very much for clarification.
Thank you.
And nice job with the draft, the first draft.
Thanks. Anyone else?
Is that blue area the water overlay? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought John had.
Hold on, Sam.
I'm Linda Diana. I'm from, live in Bridgeport, but I've, very interested because I've read a lot of things on social media about this overlay, and I've read the article and everything, and I'm a little bit confused, but I have a few opinions that I'd like to voice.
Sure.
One thing is, I don't have an expensive home. I don't live on the waterfront. I do like to go to Sackett's Harbor. I like to go to Skinny Atlas. I love the small shops. I love the atmosphere. It's beautiful. I like that they're talking about doing some development in the area to bring the economy up, to bring tourists in, to make our town more alive and vital. I've lived here since 1973 in town of Cicero, and I've seen a lot of places go. A lot of the commercial, different things have changed. Everything has changed. And it seems like it's dying. And to have a rebirth and a regrowth, and to be able to have condos or different things built where you can take a smaller footprint and build these places and get maybe higher taxes to bring in some needed revenue in our area. I think it's very important. And I think if it's not going to take away from the single family homes that are already there, but bring revenue, bring growth, bring the community alive again, it's important that we do these things to further our growth. I look at our conditions of our roads, and I know everybody's trying. We need more financial revenue brought in to be able to keep our roads up and to keep things going. If we're able to bring more, maybe some tourists to come in who are going to spend money in some shops or different things, maybe that'll help. That's my opinion. Are people's taxes going to go up? Sure they are. They're going up every day anyway. Inflation, everything goes up. You know, I can't afford a home on the lake because I couldn't afford the taxes, but maybe if I could get into a condo, I probably could. That's just my opinion, and I just wanted to voice that.
Thank you.
Name's John Ames. I live on Lake Shore Road. Been there 23 years, newcomer compared to George's family. Couple questions. The blue area, that's where the overlay is?
That's the current limits of it, yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to fit the road that goes down the middle there to the peak, that's South Bay Road.
Yeah.
Where does it end? Like, what's that far blue point there? Like, do you know what the address is?
No. No. Can't see it. Oh, there you go. Here, you want it? Yeah. Okay. Talking about right there?
Go east, all the way east to where the blue, like what addresses is that?
That's West Murray. Big Marina.
The what?
B Marina, West Murray.
Okay, so it's gonna go, all right, I just wanted to see my home is within that. Okay, so the concern I have is cost. Okay, is there I mean, the person who's developing this, I don't know him, I read the plan, I mean, it is very futuristic and very aggressive. Is there a payment in lieu of taxes associated with this plan?
Usually when I think of a pilot payment in lieu of taxes, it's in reaction to a development proposal. there's not one currently being considered for this overlay. I'm trying to, it's normally in reaction to a project, not a rezoning. That-
Okay, but what about the redevelopment that shows all the $1 million condos and the reuse of all that property there?
Are you talking about an existing development proposal that you've
Yeah.
heard of?
Yeah.
That I can't speak to.
Okay, well, okay, so typically what comes along with that is a tax deferment where they don't have to pay taxes for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So when they're developed, who's gonna pay for all this infrastructure? Somebody else brought up, there's highways, there's sewers, there's electrical. If they're gonna change that use, they're gonna have to change out the electrical use. There's the police, fire department, the highway department. I mean, how do you pay for all that stuff? Yeah, that's a concern. Yeah, and then I'm not right where they're being redeveloped. So what does that mean to me as a property owner within that blue? How will I be impacted? Somebody gonna take away some of my property? So
I can answer your other question, I think, but now I'm processing what you're saying. As I mentioned before, any project of any significance, multifamily, mixed use, commercial, would go through the traditional development review process. And
Yep.
if they asked for a pilot, that would be considered at that time. They wouldn't be granted one by anything in here, would not guarantee or say yes or no to a pilot in this code. That would be decided by the board and its partners on a project by project basis as those projects came forward. So there's nothing giving blanket yes or blanket no in this when it comes to pilots. In terms of you, as I'm assuming single family home,
yeah,
then this doesn't impact you. If
Okay.
you want to re-roof your house, go ahead. If you want to build an addition, you still need a construction permit and it still needs to make sure it's built to New York State standards, but you could do that just like you would before or after this was adopted.
okay. So I mean, the thing is that I see that if that's developed like it's planned, it's gonna increase a lot. There's gonna be a lot of traffic there. I mean, a lot of us moved out there because it used to be out in the middle of nowhere, and some of us like being out in the middle of nowhere, and being on the lake is kind of nice too. So I just asked, take that into consideration with the existing, people that are living there. The increase, the traffic, the safety. There's somebody got killed on the road a few years ago, just out walking. Lakeshore Road it's dangerous. My kids grew up there. I wouldn't let them go out and run in the roads, ride bicycles in the roads. It's a dangerous road. And if you increase the traffic, it'll be worse, so.
Well, but to clarify, the waterfront overlay district is not a specific project. I mean, the project I think you're referring to, there's no application pending or anything for it. It's just an idea at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a very aggressive, futuristic, but it's gonna cost somebody something. And it's usually, I mean, I've lived there, and every year nobody's ever come back and say, hey, we're gonna reduce your taxes. It just doesn't work that way. But, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. We're going to leave this one open as well.
I'd move to adjourn it to
26.
3/26 at 6:30 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to thank everyone for their time tonight and their questions and concerns. Thank you very much. If you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to.
That's thinking around social media.
Move for the adoption of resolution to set a public hearing for March 26th, 2025 at 6:30 PM to consider adding the properties of the first phase of Lions Run development to the town's consolidated decorative underground lighting district.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move the adoption resolution to hire Taylor Howard as Recreation Leader Site Supervisor of the 2025 Summer Day Camp Program at a pay rate of $19 per hour, with a start date on or about June 1st and contingent upon passing background check, budget code 002-714-00-105-0000.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Oh, sorry. Move the adoption resolution to hire Lexi Waite as Recreation Attendant Camp Counselor for the 2025 Summer Day Camp Program at a pay rate of $16 per hour, with the start date on or about June 24th and contingent upon passing a background check, budget code 002-714-00-105-0000.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move the adoption resolution to accept a $500 donation from Fulton Savings Bank for sponsorship of one of the summer 2025 concerts, to be added to concert budget code 001798940000000.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
Move the adoption resolution to approve having Boondocker Equipment Incorporated equip the new Dodge 3500 Ram truck for the Parks Department at an estimated cost of $18,560. Installation to include adding a plow, spreader, lights, and grip steps. Budget code 001-7110-0220-0000.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed.
TL3 Boom Assembly for Truck 26, move for the adoption of a resolution to approve SimCon equipment in the amount of $7,480.94. Budget code 003-5130-4358-0000.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Vote no or abstain, passed. Discussion, you guys got any discussion items? Michael, hope you feel better. You have anything? No? Anybody like to come up and speak? Okay, with that being said,
Wait, can I
Thank you,
just
but-
promote one thing?
Oh,
We have a spaghetti dinner next Saturday, the 22nd, being held at Fire Station 1 from 4 to 6:30, fundraiser for the canteen. And tickets are $10 in advance. They're 12 at the door, and hope you can attend. Thank you.
anybody else? Make a motion to close the meeting?